अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारणम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनम्। रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधू वर्गेण या कल्पिता। श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेमापुमर्थो महान्। श्रीचैतन्यमहाप्रभोर्मतमिदं तत्रादरः न परः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome back to our session on the 64 qualities of Krishna. We have discussed the first 6 qualities. The 6th was that Krishna is ever youthful, vayasyanvitaha. As we discussed, anvitaha refers to being endowed but not in a sense that something externally is granted to somebody, but in a sense that it is an essential quality of that person or that thing. And it is something that the person identifies with. So Krishna identifies eternally not only as being a cowherd boy, but also as being an adolescent cowherd boy. In one place, Srila Prabhupada mentions, Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he thinks of himself as a cowherd boy. This is called pastime, Leela. So when you are more focused on your sense of identity, then to use a big word, ontological reality may not matter. Ontology means the study of reality. So in Tattva, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what he really likes to be is a cowherd boy who simply enjoys life. So this is Krishna's identity. In Tattva as a Supreme Lord, and in his rasa as a cowherd boy. But remember that his identification of himself as a cowherd boy, even though it is not in keeping with his being the Supreme Lord, it is also eternal. So therefore both are true. According to Bhagavad Gita philosophy, that which is eternal is true. That which is not eternal is not true. So, if Krishna's being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally valid, is a fact, but so is his self-identification as a cowherd boy. So even though it's a pastime when Krishna doesn't like to think of himself as God, but he thinks of himself as a cowherd boy, but since this thinking is eternal, so Krishna is eternally a cowherd boy, so Krishna's reality is twofold, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he is also a cowherd boy simultaneously. And not only that, Vayaschanvitaha. So he not only is a cowherd boy, but he identifies as an adolescent, pre-youth cowherd boy. There is one pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is visited by a Brahmana devotee from Darbhanga, from Mithila. And his name is Raghupati Upadhyay. And Raghupati Upadhyay is actually a nice devotee and he's also a scholar. He has composed many verses in glorification of Krishna. And naturally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very attracted because he is such a nice poet and his siddhantas are correct. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be very upset if some poet or some composer composed some drama or a poetry which was not in keeping with the proper siddhanta. There were numerous occasions like this. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a system that he would screen people in Jagannath Puri who wanted to read their compositions to him. The Swarup Damodar would first screen and he would hear, and if it was fit for hearing by Mahaprabhu, then he would pass him on to Mahaprabhu. Most people failed the test. And so very few would get a chance to actually come in front of Mahaprabhu. So in any case, this was on another occasion. So Raghupati Upadhyay came and Mahaprabhu had liked his compositions. So he knew that he wouldn't speak any apasiddhanta. Apasiddhanta means something that is contrary to the proper conclusions of the Shastra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu often established the proper siddhantas through his devotees. Like in the conversation with Ramananda Rai, he asked the questions, Ramananda Rai gave the replies. Mahaprabhu didn't write anything. He didn't compose anything except the Shikshashtakam. And otherwise, all his teachings are through his disciples and his followers. So when Raghupati Upadhyay came, Mahaprabhu was very happy to see him. And he said, Upadhyay, Shrestha Manokai. So, my dear Upadhyay, who do you consider to be the foremost personality in all of existence? So, Raghupati Upadhyay replied, Shyamam eva param rupam kahe Upadhyay. So Upadhyay said, Shyamam, that is Shyama, Krishna, eva param rupam. The supreme form or the supreme person is Shyama, that is Krishna. Then he asked him the question, Shyama ruper vasasthana shrestha manokai. This Shyama Rupa, this Krishna that you mention, he has many places of residence. So which is the foremost place of residence for this Shyama Rupa? Shyama Ruper Vasasthana Shrestha Manokai. Puri Madhupuri Vara Kahe Upadhyay. So Upadhyay said Puri Madhupuri Vara. So Madhupuri is actually Mathura or Vrajamandal. So that is the best residence of that Shyama Rupam. Mahaprabhu is not satisfied. He's got the name of the foremost being, he's got his place of residence, but he also wants his age. Whenever you go for any documentation and so on, you give your name, residence, and you also give your date of birth. So your age is also essential. So he wants to know another thing. So Mahaprabhu asks him, Balya Pauganda Kaishora Shrestha Manokai. So he says whether it's the childhood form or the Pauganda boyhood form or the adolescent form, for Shyama Rupam, which is the best? Vayaha Kaishorakam Dhyayam Kahai Upadhyay. So Upadhyay Raghupati, he immediately answers, Vayaha means the age, Kaishorakam, the age of adolescence. Dhyayam is worthy of meditation. That is the best. Mahaprabhu is not over yet. So he asks one more question. Rasagana Madhye Shrestumi Shrestha Manokai. Among all the rasas, which do you consider to be the best? Adya eva paro rasaha kaho Upadhyay. So Upadhyay says, Adya eva paro rasa. Adya means the Shringara ras or the Madhurya ras is the best. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased because his 4 questions were very fundamental to our understanding of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He asked the key questions and he got the right answers. So Mahaprabhu was so happy with the answers of Raghupati Upadhyay that he took his 4 answers and put them and made it into one verse. And he recited that verse again and again, relishing the mellows of that verse. You may repeat after me, although it's not on the screen. Shyamam eva param rupam Puri Madhupuri Vara Vayaha Kaishorakam Deyam Adya eva paro rasaha. Mahaprabhu recited this again and again and again in great ecstasy. The topmost form is Krishna, Shyama Sundar. His topmost place of residence is Mathura Mandal or Vrajamandal. His best age is Kaishora. adolescence. And the highest rasa in which Krishna exchanges mellows with his devotees is the Madhurya Ras or the Shringara Ras. So these 4 points, they are very fundamental to our whole Siddhanta, our philosophy. So in this way, Mahaprabhu very intelligently extracted the essence from his various devotees. So Vayasyanvitaha, so Vayaha Kaishorakam Dhyeyam. So the object of meditation is Krishna in the adolescent form. Of course, Krishna in any form is worthy of meditation. Not just in the form of two-handed Krishna, but also in the four-handed Narayan, in the form of Narasimha, in the form of Ramachandra, Varaha. Any form of Krishna is purely transcendental and worthy of our worship. Nevertheless, specifically for those who are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who encourages his followers to love Krishna and understand Krishna in the mood of Vrindavan, we are encouraged to meditate on that Shyamasundar Krishna, the two-armed form of Krishna, who lives in Vrindavan, who grazes, herds the cows, who is the son of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, and who dances with the gopis. That Yashoda Nandan, who is an adolescent, is the most worshipable form for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So this is our topmost form. So those who wish to worship Krishna in the Bala Rupa, welcome. Or in the Pauganda Rupa, welcome. Or those who wish to worship him when he is at Kurukshetra, or in Dwarka, or Mathura, welcome. All are perfect. But of very special interest to devotees who follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is this form of Krishna specifically. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned this in connection with all the different avatars of Krishna. And he says in one of his Bhagavad Gita purports, then he says, but we should specially try to focus our mind on the two-armed form of Krishna in Vrindavan playing the flute. So Krishna's flute playing and all his qualities, as we mentioned earlier before the lunch break, they attain their perfection at this age. He is beautiful even as a child, even as a boy, but his beauty reaches that peak at this particular age. So therefore this age is very, very important, and this is one of the eternal attributes of Krishna, inseparable from him. So he is ever youthful. So this is the 6th quality of Krishna. Now we'll go on to the 7th quality, which is that he is a wonderful linguist. Vividadbhuta Bhashavit. Bhasha means language, Vit means one who knows, as in Vidya, etc. Vividha means many, and Adbhuta means amazing. So when it comes to Krishna, you'll find this word Adbhuta coming so many times. You've already encountered it on several occasions here. So Vividha, Adbhuta, Bhashavit. So what does it mean? So here is how Rupa Goswami defines it. Vividha Adbhuta Bhasha Vidsa Proktu Yastu Kovidaha Nana Deshyasu Bhashasu Samskrite Prakriteshu Cha. So Yastu Kovidaha, one who knows very well, not COVID. COVID is different from COVID. So Kovid means one who is very wise, who is very knowledgeable. So a person who knows Vividha Adbhuta, or rather Nana Deshyasu Bhashasu, who knows the language of Nana Desha, of many countries, bhashasu, and also he knows the Sanskrit language and the vernacular language. Samskrite prakriteshu. So the original root language of all is Sanskrit. From Sanskrit have been derived all the languages of the world. So the other languages which have derived from Sanskrit, which are ordinary languages, they are called Prakrit. So Prakrit is also a specific language for those who are familiar with history. But in general, one could say that Prakrit means the ordinary language of the common man, spoken in different places. So Krishna knows the language of not just different lands. He knows Sanskrit. He also knows all the Prakrita languages, and including the languages of the animals. That is why this beautiful picture here, when Krishna is imitating a peacock, and he would converse with the birds, with the animals, and they would understand. So the animals and the birds also have their own languages. We may not understand it, but Krishna understands everything. So this is the nature, and someone who is Vividha Adbhuta Bhashavid. So he is called a person who knows astonishing languages. A knower of astonishing languages. Astonishing languages because even the language of the animals and the birds, Krishna knows. Okay, so can we read? Yes.
Rupa Goswami says that a person who knows the languages of different countries, especially the Sanskrit language, which is spoken in the cities of the demigods, as well as other worldly languages, including those of the animals, is called a wonderful linguist. It appears from this statement that Krishna can also speak and understand the languages of the animals. An old woman in Vrindavan, present at the time of Krishna's pastimes, once stated in surprise, "How wonderful it is that Krishna, who owns the hearts of all the young girls of Vrajabhumi, can nicely speak the language of Vrajabhumi with the gopis, while in the Sanskrit he speaks with the demigods, and in the language of the animals he can even speak with the cows and buffalo? Similarly, in the language of the Kashmir province, and with the parrots and other birds, as well as in most common languages, Krishna is so expressive." She inquired from the gopis as to how Krishna had become so expert in speaking so many different types of languages.
So this is how an elderly gopi is glorifying Krishna as the knower of so many languages. It is very important to know languages. And especially as devotees, when we want to communicate our message of Krishna consciousness to different people, it is always helpful to know many languages. And also, even overall, learning languages should be a very important part of the process of education. Children should learn at least 4 to 5 languages by the time they are 15 years of age. And in India, it is entirely possible. Because already there are so many regional languages, and there is Hindi, and there is English, and there is Sanskrit. If they are taught in Gurukul, that is so nice. So 4 to 5 languages is not that difficult to learn. Children's brains have the capacity to learn dozen languages or even more, maybe 2 dozen languages. They have that capacity, they can learn. So anyway, Krishna knows all languages. So this is Vividha Adbhuta Bhashavid. The next quality, number 8, truthful. Satya Vakyaha. Syan nanritam vajo yasya Satya Vakyaha sakatyate. Na anritam vachaha. Nritam means truth, anritam means false. Na anritam. So one whose words are never false. Yasya Satya Vakyaha sakatyate. So a person is called a speaker of truth whose words are never false. So this is an important quality of Krishna. Of course, more than Krishna, Krishna sometimes is doubted by people. Krishna is very much misunderstood. Many times we see people or even devotees sometimes saying, I'm much misunderstood. They have misunderstood me. I didn't mean it like that. But nobody is more misunderstood than Krishna. You will have all kinds of people giving all kinds of opinions about Krishna. But Krishna is still patiently in their hearts, fulfilling their desires. So, Satyavakya. So, Krishna is Satyavakya, but many people doubt. So, therefore, Krishna is obliged to tell Arjuna, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashyati. And because it's Krishna's devotee speaking, so people have more faith in the devotees than in Krishna. And because it is Krishna's devotees, so their words are also Krishna's words. It's also Krishna's promise. So Satyavakya. So one whose words are never false. Yes, can you read?
A person whose word of honor is never broken is called truthful. Krishna once promised Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, that he would bring her 5 sons back from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After the battle was finished, when all the Pandavas had come home, Kunti praised Krishna because his promise was so nicely fulfilled. She said, "Even the sunshine may one day become cool and the moonshine one day become hot, but still your promise will not fail." Similarly, when Krishna...
Oh, 1 second. Yeah, we'll hold here. So this is one example from the Mahabharata of how Krishna is Satyavakya. Before the Mahabharata battle, Kurukshetra battle began, Kunti was very worried that her sons, her 5 sons, would die in the battle. So Krishna promised her that her sons would come back after the battle of Kurukshetra. He would ensure that they come back, and they would come back with honor, which means that they would come back victorious. So this was Krishna's promise. Now from any material point of view, it would seem highly unlikely that this would happen, because the Kaurava army was far superior in terms of numbers and also in terms of great warriors, because they had warriors like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Kripacharya, and so on. But from a spiritual point of view, the Pandavas were far greater because they had Krishna. But anyway, Kunti Maharani, being a mother, was very anxious. And at the end of it, she declared, actually, Krishna has kept his promise. She was very grateful for it. And then she made this statement, Ravir bhavati shitalaha kumud bandhur apyashnula ushnalas. She says, Ravihi bhavati shitalaha. Ravi means the sun. Bhavati may become. Shitala means cool. One day the sun may become cool. Kumud bandhu apyushnalas. Ushnalas means become hot. Kumud bandhu refers to the moon. Kumuda is a flower. It's a white water lily that blooms in the night under moonlight. So, therefore, that white lily is called Kumuda. And the moon is called Kumuda Bandhu, because the moon is a friend of the Kumuda flower. Because when the moon shines, then this flower blooms. So, Kumuda Bandhu means the moon. So, one day, Kunti Maharani said, the sun may become cool, and one day the moonshine, which is normally cooling, may become hot, but tathapi na murantaka vibhicharishnur uktistava. But your words will never fail, O Krishna. So this is Kunti Maharani's praise of Krishna, that Krishna will always keep his words. So those who represent Krishna, his pure devotees also, they become empowered to speak only that which is true. For example, Valmiki Muni was blessed by Brahma that whatever he would write in the Ramayana would prove to be true. Every word that he wrote would be a reality. And he would actually witness the whole battle as if it was happening right in front of his eyes. And indeed, everything that Valmiki Muni wrote turned out to be true. And that is how all these great scriptures are written. They are scriptures because they are words of God directly and indirectly. Sometimes Krishna himself speaks, and sometimes Krishna inspires and motivates his devotees to speak. He educates them from within, gives them the intelligence and the understanding. So whether it's Vyasadeva or whether it's Valmiki Muni and so many other great compilers of the scriptures, they are glorious and their words will be Satya. So the Vedas are the words of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada often gave this example that when two people have an argument and somebody says something, the other person will say, "Are your words Veda Vakya that I should believe you?" In other words, if something is stated in the Vedas, it is true, even if it may appear to be very unreasonable and illogical and against our experience of this world. Just like the excreta of an animal is considered impure, but the excreta of the cow dung is considered very, very pure. Now it defies common sense and logic, but because it is stated in the Vedas, it's true. The Vedas are the breathing of the Lord, they are the words of the Lord. So this is Satyavakya. So the first example is of Kunti Maharani and Krishna. And the second example of how Krishna is Satyavakya is also given by Rupa Goswami. Please read.
Similarly, when Krishna, along with Bhima and Arjuna, went to challenge Jarasandha, he plainly told Jarasandha that he was the eternal Krishna present along with two of the Pandavas. The story is that both Krishna and the Pandavas, in this case Bhima and Arjuna, were Kshatriyas, warrior kings. Jarasandha was also a Kshatriya and was very charitable toward the Brahmanas. Thus Krishna, who had planned to fight with Jarasandha, went to him with Bhima and Arjuna in the dress of Brahmanas. Jarasandha, being very charitable toward the Brahmanas, asked them what they wanted, and they expressed their desire to fight with him. Then Krishna, dressed as a Brahmana, declared himself to be the same Krishna, who was the king's eternal enemy.
So here is another example of Krishna being Satyavakya, truthful. He never lies. His words never seem false. However, there were rumors in Vrindavan that Krishna was lying, that he was stealing butter. Yes, because Krishna is famous as the thief. And whenever he was caught, even though the butter would be dripping down from his lips, he was caught red-handed, so to speak, or white-handed. He would flatly, without any kind of embarrassment, state, "I never stole, I never took any butter." So then one wonders, is Krishna speaking the truth or not? Or was he lying? There is that famous song that has become very popular. मैं नहीं माखन खायो, no? मैं नहीं माखन खायो, that I did not eat the butter. But actually, one time Gaur Govinda Maharaj was giving this talk. He said actually what Krishna was saying is, मैंने ही माखन खायो, that it is I alone who ate butter. So in any case, whether Krishna speaks the truth or whether he speaks falsehood, an important principle of the dealings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that because he is absolute, whatever he says is truth. So even though he urged Yudhishthira Maharaj in the battle to speak a lie, in the sense he didn't speak the complete truth. He spoke softly a certain part, and a certain part he spoke aloud. We all know that pastime, we won't go into the details of it. So, being economical with the truth, as they say. Sometimes people may not tell you a direct lie, but they'll not tell you the complete truth. They'll tell you only a portion of the truth, and therefore you will have a different impression. Had you known the whole truth, you would have come to some other conclusion. So anyway, so Krishna is faulted sometimes, and he's criticized that he urged Yudhishthira Maharaj to lie. But actually, because Krishna is absolute, his lie, his truth are all truths. From the relative point of view, we may have different ideas, but Krishna is all truth. He is truth personified. Therefore, everything that Krishna says and does is true. Then we come to the ninth quality of Krishna. Pleasing talker. Priyam vadaha. Jane krita paradhepi santvavadi priyam vadaha. Santvavadi means to speak in a pleasing manner. Jane krita aparadhepi. So even if somebody has offended one, and one still speaks very pleasingly to him, then such a person is called Priyam Vadaha, who speaks very pleasingly. It's easy to speak pleasingly to those who speak pleasingly to us. But it is not easy to speak pleasingly to those who have harmed us, or who are our enemies, or who speak harshly to us. But Krishna had this quality of being Priyam Vadaha. And Rupa Goswami gives the example of how Krishna spoke with Kaliya after subduing him. Yes, please.
A person who can speak sweetly, even with his enemy, just to pacify him, is called a pleasing talker. Krishna was such a pleasing talker that after defeating his enemy Kaliya in the water of the Yamuna, he said, "My dear king of the snakes, although I have given you so much pain, please do not be dissatisfied with me. It is my duty to protect these cows, which are worshipped even by the demigods. Only in order to save them from the danger of your presence have I been obliged to banish you from this place." Kaliya was residing within the water of the Yamuna, and as a result, the back portion of that river had become poisoned. Thus, so many cows who had drunk the water had died. Therefore, Krishna, even though he was only 4 or 5 years old, dipped himself into the water, punished Kaliya very severely, and then asked him to leave the place and go elsewhere.
So, and this is not just a Brahmanical quality. Sometimes Kshatriyas also will exhibit this quality. In fact, it is one of the qualities of a Kshatriya to be very magnanimous when somebody has surrendered to him, or even if that Kshatriya has defeated another Kshatriya. So, one Kshatriya is expected to treat the other Kshatriya who he has defeated with some dignity. And they will always keep them with respect. But those Kshatriyas who do not have these virtues, they will mistreat the Kshatriyas they have defeated. So the Vedic culture had such values, and it was found even recently. But of course in Kali Yuga, these virtues, they become counterproductive. When Prithviraj Chauhan, he pardoned, because I think it was Gauri or somebody, right? Gauri came, but Gauri went away and he came back and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan, and this time he didn't follow that rule. So the Kshatriyas of Kali Yuga don't do this. But Krishna, he was acting as a Kshatriya when he was subduing evil elements. Even though he was in a Vaishya capacity in Vrindavan, But he was also playing the role of a Kshatriya in the sense that a Kshatriya has to destroy evil elements and those who cause a disturbance in the society. So his killing of the Asuras and his subduing of Kaliya are examples of this. So then Krishna was speaking very pleasingly to Kaliya. And Krishna, of course, had a wonderful time dancing on the hoods of Kaliya. And that was an excellent exhibition of peerless dancing, of beautiful footwork. So this pleasing talk or Priyam Vada is also called Madhura Bhashi, one who speaks very sweetly. And Valmiki Muni says about Lord Ramachandra that he was Madhura Bhashi, he used to speak very sweetly. He was also Mridu Bhashi, he would speak softly. And he was also, very interestingly, Purva Bhashi, that he would go up and speak first. In other words, that if there was somebody he met, he would not let ego come in the middle. Why should I go and speak first? Let him come and speak to me first. Let him say Hari Bol to me, then I will reply Hari Bol. No, he would go up and greet that person very nicely, very respectfully. He would greet. So these were the qualities of Ram. And of course, Krishna has all of these qualities in perfection, in a way that is adbhuta. So the quality of Priyam Vadata, quality of pleasing speech, was there in Krishna. And in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the importance of cows and cow protection. Because in subduing Kaliya, Krishna had in mind that many of his dear cows had been poisoned by the water. And Krishna's business is to protect the cows. Yes, he is the Adi Purusham, who is protector of the cows.
Krishna said at that time that the cows are worshipped even by the demigods, and he practically demonstrated how to protect the cows. At least people who are in Krishna consciousness should follow in his footsteps and give all protection to the cows. Cows are worshipped not only by the demigods. Krishna himself worshipped the cows on several occasions, especially on the days of Gopashtami and Govardhan Puja.
Okay, so the importance of cow protection is being stressed by Srila Prabhupada here. A point to note about pleasing talker is that there may be occasions when pleasing speech may not be the right thing to do. When the truth has to be spoken sometimes, not always, but sometimes it may need to be spoken in a manner that may not always be pleasing. But we can see that Krishna also spoke very strongly sometimes, especially when he was facing somebody in battle and the Kshatriyas would challenge each other. And Krishna would also speak. And then there are so many such discussions we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Pondrak came in front of Krishna, Krishna started laughing hilariously. Because Pondrak had come dressed with 4 arms. He was dressed like false Vasudeva and Krishna. So Krishna came angry to fight, but when he saw Pondrak like that, his anger just disappeared and he started just laughing on the battlefield. Eventually, of course, a fierce battle ensued and he subdued and killed Pondraka. Anyway, so the next quality, number 10, is Krishna is fluent. Vavadukaha. Shruti Preshtoktir Akhilavag Gunanvitavagapi Iti Dvidha Nigadito Vavaduko Manishipihi. Shruti means to the ears, Preshtha means very pleasing or very loving. So another name of Radharani is Preshtha also. So that's an important word. So uktihi. So that which when spoken is pleasing to the ear, and akhilavag gunanvita. Akhila Vag Gunanvita Vag Api. When it is spoken with a double meaning or a very clever twist to the words, such speech is called eloquence. Speaking that, the wise say that there are two types of eloquence, vavadukaha, speaking that which is pleasing to the ear and speaking with clever meaning. So here, so the first example is given of Krishna speaking to Nanda Maharaj, and that is an example of speaking that which is pleasing to the ear. Yes, please read the first part, and the second part, second paragraph, deals with clever speech.
A person who can speak meaningful words and with all politeness and good qualities is called Vavaduka or fluent. There is a nice statement in Srimad Bhagavatam regarding Krishna's speaking politely. When Krishna politely bade his father, Nanda Maharaj, to stop the ritualistic offering of sacrifice to the rain god Indra, a wife of one village cowherd man became captivated. She later thus described the speaking of Krishna to her friends. Krishna was speaking to his father so politely and gently that it was as if he were pouring nectar into the ears of all present there. After hearing such sweet words from Krishna, who will not be attracted to him?
So here is a beautiful passage from the Srimad Bhagavatam about how Krishna's speech was like nectar being poured into the ears of Nanda Maharaj and the other Brajabasis who were present there, when they had resolved to worship Indra, and with very sweet words, but at the same time very meaningful words, Krishna changed their mind and made them worship Govardhan. So eloquence, remember, it is very important. Mitam cha saram hi vagmita eva. So vagmita means eloquence. So it should be hitam and it should be saram, mitam rather. Mitam cha saram hi vagmita iti. So concise truth spoken or truth spoken concisely is eloquence according to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So for someone or something to be eloquent, first of all, the speech must be eloquent, it must be meaningful. You cannot speak nonsense and say eloquent. Someone can speak a lot, but if it's nonsense, what is the use of that? So it must be very meaningful and full of truth. And at the same time, it should also be spoken concisely. So that which is essential and true, mitam means concise, sara means essential. So one should speak only when it is essential, and one should speak that which is meaningful, that which is true. This constitutes eloquence. Too many words cheapen the value of our speech. And Vidura also says in Vidura Niti in Mahabharata that too much speech shortens the span of our life. So unless of course you're speaking for Krishna, in which case you're going closer and closer to eternal life. But generally, people tend to speak a lot. I have some memory of some situation when many years ago I was on a train journey, and there happened to be two ladies sitting across, and they were. It was a long journey, and by the time the journey was over, I knew everything about their family politics, and they were speaking in Gujarati language. They didn't think that I would understand it, but I was understanding every word of it. I understood all about the politics that happened inside the family, and what jewelry and what happened here and there, and finally I had to actually make a request with folded hands that please, for 5 minutes, please stop talking. So people sometimes have a prodigious capacity for speech, they can go on and on and on speaking, regardless of whether it's true or not. So, please remember this definition. Mitam cha saram hi vag mita iti. Eloquence is truth spoken concisely. No unnecessarily beating around the bush. It is one thing to elaborate on a particular topic to explain it better and to increase the rasa of that particular topic, which is what a Srimad Bhagavatam Katha is all about, or any spiritual topic for that matter. We have one verse every day in the morning, and then there's the purport, and then the speaker elaborates on that. But the speaker should stick to the theme of whatever is being discussed, rather than being all over the place. So concisely, the truth has to be spoken. So this is Krishna who speaks so sweetly and pleasingly. And Krishna's speech is like that. We cannot imagine how it would appear if Krishna was speaking and we were hearing that. What would be the impact of Krishna's speech? The second example of clever speech is given again with the next para. Yes.
Krishna's speech, which contains all good qualities in the universe, is described in the following statement by Uddhava. The words of Krishna are so attractive that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. His words can immediately solve all of the questions and problems of the world. Although he does not speak very long, each and every word from his mouth contains volumes of meaning. These speeches of Krishna are very pleasing to my heart.
Yes, so important what is here is that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. He does not speak very long, and each and every word that emanates from his mouth contains volumes of meaning. So a vividharthamai, that his words can have so many meanings, and at the same time pramita aksham, not wasting words. So because words also are sound energy, why to waste our energy speaking things that are not beneficial? So anyway, Krishna is Vavadukaha. It's also called Vakpatu in our normal languages. The next is, till what time do we go on? 5:15, right? 5:30. And the next is 5:30 to 6:30. Okay, quality number 11 is highly learned, Supandityaha. The reason we are reading from Srila Prabhupada's words is that it's good for us to make it a practice to actually read Prabhupada's books and get into that habit. Okay, Supandityaha Vidvan Nitikya Ityesha Supandityo Dvidhamataha Vidvan Akhila Vidyavid Nitigyastu Yatharha Krit. So, Supanditya means one who is very learned. But what is the meaning of being learned? Being learned has two parts to it. It is not merely having enough academic or book knowledge of something. That is one part of it. One cannot be learned until one has acquired at least the essential elements of knowledge. One does not need to know everything. For example, even in the Naimisharanya gathering, when the rishis had gathered, Shaunaka Rishi and others praised Suta Goswami that you who are learned in some sections of the Vedas. They didn't say in all the Vedas. It's very difficult for somebody to be learned in all the departments of knowledge completely. But Suta Goswami was well versed in the relevant sections of the Vedas that especially spoke about devotional service. And the sages at Naimisharanya were very eager to hear that. So in any case, a highly learned person is Vidwan. Vidwan means one who understands. Akhila Vidya Vid. He understands many different departments of knowledge. And Nitigya. Niti means morality or conduct. So Nitigya means he has knowledge and practice of proper conduct. So theoretical or academic book knowledge is not enough to qualify one to be a truly learned person. One must also act in accordance with that knowledge in one's life. Yes, could you read?
When a person is highly educated and acts strictly on moral principles, he is called highly learned. A person conversant in different departments of knowledge is called educated. And because he acts on moral principles, he is called morally stout. Together, these two factors constitute learning.
Yes, together these two factors constitute learning. Being conversant in different departments of knowledge is called being educated, and then to act on moral principles. So here is a small chart. Being learned means two things, being a Vidwan and being a Nitigyaha. Now in the next paragraph, we will see an example of the first one, Vidwan. How Krishna was knowledgeable in all subjects. And in the paragraph after that, we will see the example, the second example of Vidwan also. Yes, please read the first.
Krishna's receiving education from Sandipani Muni is described by Sri Narad Muni as follows. In the beginning, Lord Brahma and others are like clouds of evaporated water from the great ocean of Krishna. In other words, Brahma first received the Vedic education from Krishna as the clouds receive water from the ocean. That Vedic education or instruction, which was spoken by Brahma to the world, was then reposed upon the mountain of Sandipani Muni. Sandipani Muni's instructions to Krishna are like a reservoir of water on the mountain, which flows as a river and goes again to mix with their source, the ocean of Krishna. To be more clear, the idea is that Krishna actually cannot be instructed by anyone, just as the ocean does not receive water from any source but itself. It only appears that the rivers are pouring water into the ocean. So it is clear that Brahma received his education from Krishna, and from Brahma, via the disciplic succession, this Vedic instruction was distributed. Sandipani Muni is likened to the river which is flowing down again to that same original ocean of Krishna.
Very beautiful metaphor, very detailed simile, an example. The water from the ocean, there is a vast ocean which contains water. The sunlight or the heat of the sun evaporates the water. The water vapor moves up into the clouds. The clouds then pour water, rain, on top of the mountains. From the mountains, the water as a river flows down and then goes into the plains and then meets the ocean again. So it would appear that the rivers are feeding the ocean. But actually the ocean is self-sufficient. The ocean is actually the source of the water of the rivers. Because it is the ocean water that is being evaporated and comes back into the ocean. So even though it appears that all the different rivers in the world meet in the ocean and they supply water to the ocean, but the fact is, it is the ocean that is the origin of the water. So similarly, in this example, we see Krishna is compared to the ocean. The water of the ocean, Vedic knowledge is compared to the water in the ocean. Brahma is like the cloud, because the Vedic knowledge goes from Krishna to Brahma originally. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, yes? So that knowledge is originally transmitted by Krishna to Brahma. Brahma, that is the cloud. Now the cloud pours it down. That is, Brahma is starting his sampradaya and he is transmitting the Vedic knowledge down. In this particular example, Sandipani Muni is like that mountain. And, or rather, the instructions of Sandipani Muni, he's like the mountain, and the instructions of Sandipani Muni to Krishna are like the reservoir of water that is formed on the mountain, and which then flows down as a river and goes and meets the sea. So this is a beautiful analogy. So the analogy here is that it may appear that Krishna was receiving education from Sandipani Muni. But Sandipani Muni was also receiving that knowledge via the disciplic succession which came from Brahma, because Brahma is the original speaker of the Vedas after Krishna. And then the knowledge was given to Brahma by Krishna, and now Sandipani Muni is giving it back to Krishna. So it's like the river coming back and meeting the ocean. But just to set an example, Krishna actually goes and receives this knowledge from Sandipani Muni. So very beautiful analogy here. The second example is given in the next paragraph. Yes.
The Siddhas, the inhabitants of Siddha Loka, where all are born with fully developed mystic powers, and the Charanas, the inhabitants of a similar planet, pray to Krishna as follows.
So these are the prayers of the Siddhas and the Charanas to Krishna. Yes.
My Lord Govinda, the goddess of learning, is decorated with 14 kinds of educational ornaments. Her intelligence is all-pervading within the 4 departments of the Vedas. Her attention is always on the law books given by great sages like Manu, and she is paralleled in 6 kinds of expert knowledge, namely Vedic evidence, grammar, astrology, rhetoric, vocabulary, and logic. Her constant friends are the supplements of the Vedas, the Puranas, and she is decorated with the final conclusion of all education. And now she has acquired an opportunity to sit with you as a class friend in school, and she is now engaged in your service.
Okay. So Goddess Saraswati, she is the goddess of learning, of education, of wisdom, of music. You will see her picture. She's a very beautiful lady, dressed in white, very pristine, pure, and she's playing a musical instrument called the veena. And usually in educational institutions, it used to be the custom, no longer so, that schools would start their day by Saraswati Vandana, by glorifying Goddess Saraswati, because she is the goddess of learning. And she also happens to be the consort of Brahma. And Brahma and she sometimes have little issues because Brahma gives some benedictions, and then Saraswati has to come and rectify the situation. As it happened in the case of Kumbhakarna, when he was doing tapasya, they're not far from here in Gokarna, Ravana and Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana, they all came and did tapasya, and then they were granted so many benedictions. Brahma, they said they wanted suzerainty over the entire universe. And then eventually, when Kumbhakarna wanted to ask, the demigods went to Saraswati and said, please save us, Brahmaji is very liberal. He's gone there already and he's going to grant them whatever they want. They're already like a fever of meningitis for the whole universe. And if they get the powers from Brahma, then they will become totally obnoxious and it will cause so much disturbance in the universe. So then Mother Saraswati went and sat on Kumbhakarna's tongue. And of course, he wanted to ask something, but he ended up asking something completely different. He wanted to ask victory over the demigods. And he wanted to ask Nirdevatvam, so that there would be no more demigods and he can defeat all of them. But he ended up asking Nidravatvam. So Mother Saraswati just bewildered him, so he spoke that little word that came out of his mouth. And after the words came out, immediately Brahma said, yes, so be it. So that it couldn't be reversed. And immediately after that, Kumbhakarna realized, my God, what happened? Sometimes these things happen, words come out of our mouth. I remember one time one devotee was giving a Bhagavatam class and he made some statements in the class which some devotees did not like. And then there was some criticism. And I asked him, why did you say that? There was no need to say that in the class. He said, I don't know. I think Goddess Saraswati, I think sat on my tongue. She said something in my mouth. I said, don't blame Goddess Saraswati for this. The words came out of your mouth, yes, that I understand. But it's your mind, not Goddess Saraswati. So, in any case, Goddess Saraswati is actually a very evolved personality. And she has a presence in the spiritual world as well, where she presides over divine transcendental knowledge. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has spoken extensively about Saraswati, but we don't have time to go into that now. In any case, Srila Rupa Goswami in the original work has used the word Vadhu or wife for Saraswati as a bride. So she is there to serve her Lord and Master Krishna. And her master, Sandipani Muni, so she knows that Krishna is going to the ashram of Sandipani Muni in Avanti to gain knowledge. So she very happily goes there and assists in the process. So in this verse it is explained that Goddess Saraswati is the goddess of learning, and she has 14, she's all pervading within, she has 14 kinds of educational ornaments. So what are the 14 departments of knowledge from this text and from the verses cited by Rupa Goswami? There is a particular verse in the Vishnu Puran which in the purport of Jiva Goswami mentions this 14 branches of Vedic knowledge. You see, such categorizations can be found differently by different authors, by different commentators and in different shastras. So you can classify them a little differently also. So the first 4 are the Vedas that include Smritis like the Manu Smriti. Then there are 6 Angas, Shadangas, which are Shiksha, which means phonetics or pronunciation. Kalpa, the rules of rituals of performing sacrifices and many things. Vyakarana refers to grammar. Jyotisha refers to astrology and astronomy. And Chanda refers to meter. Nirukti to etymology, the origin or the source of words. Then we have the Mimamsa. Mimamsa refers to the act of deliberation and analyzing things, interpreting, how to interpret the words of the Vedas. Nyaya, the scriptures based upon logic, the different, how to understand. You have the karma and the jnana kanda, both as part of this. Then you have the Puranas and you have the Dharma Shastras. So these are the 14 departments of knowledge that Saraswati Devi presides over. Now we've already crossed our time, but there's one brief paragraph. Can you just read that? The next paragraph. Yes.
He extends submission. Krishna does not require the service of any living entity, although he has many devotees. But it's because Krishna is so kind and merciful that he gives everyone the opportunity to serve him, as though he required the service of his devotees.
Yeah, so he is happily giving Mother Saraswati a chance to serve him. So this is as far as Vidwan is concerned. Tomorrow morning we'll talk of Nitigyaha and we'll talk of the other qualities whichever we can. So we'll stop here for now. Srila Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.